Thank you so much to our new patrons, Olivia Kalk and Hannah Hawes. Folks, you are the seasoning on our curly fries.
The Patreon helps keep the podcast alive and allows you access to exclusive full-length episodes, deleted scenes, videos, monthly giveaways, an exclusive book club, written reviews, and your very own Discord channel and role. Please click on the link in the description for this episode to show your support. Hello, and welcome to Book Reviews Kill, a podcast about fantasy, sci-fi, and horror novels. I'm Chad.
And I'm Evan.
And you are listening to the Monday Morning Minute.
And this week in fictional news, the Lord of the Rings Gollum video game developer has issued a public apology for the dismal quality and all-around negative reception of the new game. Daedalic Entertainment released a statement following the growing criticism of the new Gollum-centered game, saying, quote, "We understand that a game's success relies on the enjoyment and satisfaction of its players. We genuinely value your feedback and have been actively listening to your voices, reading your comments, and analyzing the constructive criticism and suggestions that you have provided." Blah 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 blah. Oh my god, that was so corporate speak. I couldn't even get through
it. So corporate speak. I know. And a new memo went out today. Make sure that you guys educate yourself on it.
Yeah, I know, but what else do you say?
I haven't heard anything about it. I didn't even know there was a Gollum game. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so it takes place during Gollum's imprisonment in Barad-dûr before the events of Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty sure. I haven't done a ton of research into this game because
why you're being tortured a bunch.
I don't know if it really goes through all that. You're kind of just sneaking around in there.
Huh.
I don't know. It's garnered a lot of bad press, but games get time and stuff. So I mean, I wasn't over excited for this. I mean, I love me some Gollum, some Smeagol, but I'm not a huge fan of stealth games. And before this was even set to release, I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of it. I might pick it up if it goes on sale for super cheap or ends up on Game Pass or something. But I don't know. I guess I'm interested to see how the development team handled the environments,
Yeah, I'm always interested in the visual aspects of these sort of games because it's obviously set in a world that I love a ton.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought it was pertinent to this podcast. But it was coming out, and I was just I don't know how they're gonna. Why would they make a game out of that? It's just you wandering around in a dark, scary place.
Yeah, I'm watching some gameplay trailer to it right now, and it looks exactly like that. You're just kind of creeping around in a scary place.
And I see he doesn't look cool. He does. He looks weird.
He looks super weird.
I don't know how they landed on the design. Not to kick the game while it's down, but
yeah, right.
I mean, it's definitely
the graphics actually don't look that good. They look really good graphics 7 years ago.
I know, it's weird. It's just, I think the whole project, everybody was just, maybe it was one of those things that sounded like a pretty cool idea at the time, and then as they got into development, they were just oh my god, we just need to finish this. This is so such a mess. But so there's that. But there is a new game, a new Lord of the Rings game coming out, everybody, that takes place in the Fourth Age, which I thought was really interesting, and it's called Return to Moria. And it's a survival game, and it's about a group of dwarves going to go reclaim Moria in the Fourth Age, which is, for anybody that's not super into Lord of the Rings, it's after the events of Lord of the Rings. So the events in Lord of the Rings are the Third Age, and then after that, after the ring is destroyed, it technically becomes the Fourth Age. And so there hasn't been very much done with that at all. And so I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
Does the lore even extend beyond?
A little bit, yeah.
That? Oh, really? Yeah. I kind of thought it ended with the Lord of the Rings and the events thereof.
No, there's some other stuff. I think that Tolkien had this lost sequel to Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yeah, I guess that could have been a pretty cool fun fact.
Wow, he has a lost sequel to it, huh?
It was called The New Shadow. It's an incomplete sequel, approximately 13 pages, to the Lord of the Rings that J.R.R. Tolkien quickly abandoned. The manuscript was published as Chapter 16 of The Peoples of Middle-earth. The story is set in the time of Eldarion, so Elisar's son, Aragorn's son. Yeah, so okay, cool. Yeah, so that's interesting that Tolkien was just kind of nah.
Yeah,
never mind. It takes place about 100 years after.
Bring this back. I mean, think about that though, because the work is so large and kind of perfect in and of itself. It would be quite a ballsy undertaking to go again. I'd be scared of it if I was an author. Man, I have to make this so good,
or at least as good.
Yeah, I just watched some of the trailers of this Return to Moria. It looks kind of cool. A building game, you're building stuff and then fighting orcs and goblins. Of course,
I'm gonna keep an eye on that one. It's not really my normal jam when it comes to video games, but I like the idea of going back to Moria
Yeah,
I think isn't that the plot of Streams of Silver by R.A. Salvatore as well?
pretty much. Yeah, and Gauntlgrim.
Ah, well,
Also by R.A. Salvatore. He kind of like apparently if you live in the Forgotten Realms, Faerun, and you're a dwarf, you've just like lost every great civilization, every great kingdom that you've ever forged. You've at one point been driven from it and lost, delved too deep.
But with the new Shadow thing with the Tolkien sequel, I guess Tolkien. This is a quote from him, and he said, I did begin a story placed about 100 years after the downfall, but it proved both sinister and depressing. Since we're dealing with men, it is inevitable that we should be concerned with the most regrettable feature of their nature, their quick satiety with good, so that the people of Gondor in times of peace, justice, and prosperity would become discontented and restless. He was just like, I don't even want to write about this anymore.
Yeah. He was just like,
I had like this good thing going. I'm going to ruin it just to pick it back up again. I don't want to do it.
Right, because he kind of like begins the time of men with a hopeful like chapter, right? Like hopefully us men
where can we go from
rise
here?
to the occasion. Yeah, and then where can I go from here? And it begins with us being like restless and petty and like infighting and stuff. Yeah, for a guy that fought through what was it, World War One?
I believe so.
I think it was.
He must. World War II. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he probably is, and rightfully so, is a little jaded when it comes to like the goodness of men.
But yeah, that's the news. I'll keep an eye out on the new Moria game. Probably won't play the Gollum game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it too. Yeah, I'll play it for free or something if it comes out on Steam.
How was your week?
It was pretty good. Pretty good. Just wrapping up some books here. It's both with a happy and a simultaneously a heavy heart that I've been reading this week, just because we're wrapping up a few things that we've been in for a minute. We haven't been with Scythe for too long, but I'm definitely on the last one of that one called Toll, about halfway through, and I've really been enjoying those books. So it's going to be kind of sad when I finish them, as is always. It always is a little bit. And then probably the biggest sad one is The Expanse, because we've been with that one for a long time, a hot minute.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up. I'm almost done with Leviathan Falls.
Yeah, I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through it. And then like I got to that point and then I just kind of stopped because I realized I was so close. I was like, oh, I'm like one good session away from just finishing this book. Then I was like, I'm going to like read some other stuff just because I wasn't quite like emotionally ready to end it, you know? I was like, I don't want to say goodbye to my old friends just quite yet, though I really do. I'm so stoked for Faithful and the Fallen. I'm so stoked for Red Rising. Like we have some really cool stuff coming up, but it was just like, man, you know, we've been with them for so long. Though I don't think that I will be hit quite as hard as I was by the Dark Tower.
Yeah, Dark Tower was difficult to say.
Yeah, that one hit pretty hard. I was like so into those characters, and like I feel like we had been through so much together. You know, not that we haven't been through so much with The Expanse, but the Dark Tower has its own weight to it. You know, like there's a heaviness to that story.
Yeah, I mean, in the Dark Tower, you're really only with the quartet, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and with the Expanse, like you're with the crew of the Rocinante most of the time, but like it really does jump around quite a bit too.
Right. Yeah, and like I don't know, the Dark Tower is, like I said, it has its own weight to it that I don't know if anything else can properly.
I don't know. We'll see.
Properly manage.
We got some books coming up.
We've got some books coming up.
Stuff coming. Yeah, Chad and I are not done, everybody. We are just getting.
Hell no.
The steam engine is going, you know?
Damn straight. I've read some He Who Fights with Monsters this week. Not as much as I wanted to. It's so good, but there was just so many other things that I want to be reading. It's kind of my like guilty read.
Totally.
Because I know that I should be like reading the things that we have for the podcast.
Read whatever you want.
I know, but there's still like a schedule to keep, you know.
There
so
is,
like
shit. A loose one.
But it's very good. It's like I have nothing to say. I'm gonna bore people by hearing about them. Just like it's so good. Like nice, cool commentary, Chad.
But it is so good.
And like they're doing, the author's doing a really interesting thing, kind of. Especially at the beginning and the end of books, kind of expanding the universe a little bit. Like, especially at the end of this last one, we got sucked into the wider world as a whole, and we start seeing and interacting with creatures like gods, quote unquote, that are like bigger than the universe. And it just kind of pulls the story way out, and you kind of get to see some like of the strings being pulled, the machinations from beings of like all powerfulness, like who resided in another land. And like, it's pretty cool. It's like a different angle on the story that I didn't expect it to take at all, but it's really rad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then about halfway through Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, maybe a little bit more than half. I'm like one good read away from finishing that one too.
Cool.
It's very good.
Yeah,
It's very
cool.
good. It's very dark.
Yeah, it's a little dark.
It's very dark. Yeah, like there's sometimes it is not my guilty read, but it is definitely one that I'm like, I gotta be in like the right zone. If I'm having like a rough day or something, like yeah, that's not the book
Yeah, totally.
that I've been picking up. But it's Neil Gaiman, and he is not letting me down in any amount of words. He's just amazing. He's an amazing writer. He's like one of the best writers of our times, in my opinion.
Very, very. Yeah, I don't think that's. It's like not
really
a very
good.
hot take to say that either. It's just like
No.
I don't. I mean, I'm sure there are people that would argue it, but I'd be hard pressed.
I don't know what they'd say though.
Yeah.
Like the guy is a brilliant writer.
Yeah, he does his own audiobooks too.
Does he really?
And he has an amazing voice.
Really?
Yeah, you should listen to one of his audiobooks. Yeah, I mean,
I should.
He's got like this smoky, like earthy British voice. And
really?
You should listen to him. He's a fantastic.
Oh, that makes me really want to. Because I've always been like, I've heard the take of like, authors should like read their own books, and I'm always like,
for Neil Gaiman.
I don't think that they should really. But so that's interesting to hear you say, just because it's like they're an author, they're not an actor, and like you really kind of need an actor.
No, you'll be
for
shocked.
Like a fantasy book, really.
Yeah, I think Neil Gaiman should narrate other people's books too. Like,
wow,
very, very good.
Did you ever see what is it, Devils and Demons? The story about the angel and the demon.
Oh, Good Omens.
Good Omens, yes, thank you.
No. I haven't read the book and haven't watched the show. I mean, I tried reading the book like years ago and I just couldn't. For some reason, I love Neil Gaiman. I love Terry Pratchett. Yeah, I think I need to just really try to get through like the first like 60 or 70 pages of it.
I haven't read the book, but I watched the show and it was awesome.
Yeah, I've heard the show's pretty cool.
It's like funky and like there's like a quirkiness that's very like British to Neil Gaiman's work that I really like. And
Pratchett too. I mean, it's like something they collaborated on, and it just apparently it worked. Like I've got it on my shelf. I should read it, but yeah,
it really did for the show. I don't know. I can't speak to the movie or the book, but the show is awesome and fun and quirky and just really cool. I like how it started. I like how it ended. I like everything. It was really, really good.
Hell yeah.
And I didn't know that Neil Gaiman was so prolifically turned into screen. Like he's got a lot of pieces.
Yeah, I mean he did Sandman, and that's
and Coraline.
Right now. Coraline, yeah, for sure.
And
American Gods was turned into a show on Stars. Yeah.
There's been a lot of them.
Got a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a reason popular. That I say he's one of the best writers of our age. He's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, even if it wasn't for like, if you put all of his novels and short stories like over here, he still did the Sandman. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's like he would already be held in super high regard for his work on the Sandman. And it's
Have you read those books?
No, I've got the first one up here. I get asked about the Sandman all the time.
Is it a book or graphic novel?
It's a graphic novel collection.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was.
I've heard it's like the best one. Like it's
really?
It's like to the point where it's like silly of me to do what I do and have not read the Sandman. You know what I mean? Like I've got the first one.
Did he do the artwork for it?
I don't believe so. No,
because I know he started writing comics at like 16 or something.
Yeah, I think that, and I don't know exactly what the timeline is with Neil Gaiman, but I'm pretty sure the Sandman was like his first, not the first thing he ever wrote or anything, but it was like the first thing he started getting a lot of notoriety for. Because like people picked that up and they were like, "Whoa, holy shit! Like this is really good." I
want to read that. Yeah. Do you know the first thing I ever wrote was a biography? It was it was about Duran Duran.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's weird.
Yeah, that is very weird. That's another cool fun fact there.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman's first book was about Duran Duran.
Yeah, seriously, that's weird. So yeah, that and Toll, which I'm almost done with as well, is what I've been working on this week. What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a pretty awesome reading week for me.
Oh, nice.
Gotten quite a bit done. Yeah, so and that's even with the release of Diablo 4, which I've been playing a lot, and it is really good.
It's really good.
It's so good that the servers were so overloaded for the first like 20. I bought it like the second it was available, right? I didn't buy like the $100 version or anything, but I bought it at like 4 p.m. on the day that the day before like the day was supposed to come out or whatever.
Right.
And I downloaded it and I just couldn't log in for so long because it's just so many people were trying to log in at the same time. And the servers kept crashing and everybody was getting locked out and timed out and stuff. And everybody on Twitter was really upset, and Blizzard was just scrambling around trying to figure it out. Their hair on
Those
fire.
days must be so stressful.
I know, seriously. There's just like not enough you can
gosh.
do, and everybody's upset. And I was upset, like for sure, because I was just like, oh my God, I want to play this. This looks so cool. Even despite the kind of like rocky launch, it's funny. I like went on Reddit and I was trying to just commiserate with people, and all the comments were just like, "It's fine. This game's amazing. I played it for like 20 minutes. It's so good. I'm fine with waiting for it." And it really is awesome. Yeah, it's very good. I don't really have any real notes on it other than it's like if you play Diablo 4 and then you look at Diablo 3, you're kind of like, what the hell were you guys thinking? Like, that's such a dorky, like, cartoon version of this, because Diablo 4 is dark and there's so much blood and so many pentagrams all over the place. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a very intense.
You're clearly in like hell, like realms of hell.
Yeah. You're dealing with a lot. And they just streamlined a bunch of stuff, and there's just like some pretty thoughtful ways, like a lot of stuff that harkens back to like Diablo 2. And just kind of like those older, kind of like more slow pace. Like you got to like really pay attention to like conversations you're having and dialogue and side quests and stuff like that. And it's just, I like it a lot. And so I was playing quite a bit of it, and I'm trying to finish up.
Games have always been shockingly a lot story driven.
Oh, there's tons of story. Yeah. It's like
a lot of those sort of games are just kind of like, go over there and kill the orcs. They're attacking this person, and you like go do them. And
you can treat it like that. That's kind of how I did Diablo 3. Like I was kind of hanging on to the story for a little bit, and then I was like, I don't really know what's going on. So I just kind of like blew through it. But with this, I'm like a lot more attached to what's happening. But yeah, and then I'm trying to finish Tears of the Kingdom too. I'm almost done with it. And so I was like playing a decent amount of video games this week, but I read a lot. So what did I read?
That's impressive.
I mean, not like a ton, but I finished the Thunderhead, the second book in Scythe. I liked it a lot. I definitely enjoyed it more than Scythe, mostly just because like the two main characters I felt like just had more agency and were doing a lot more. A decent amount of the book is from the Thunderhead's perspective. And if you haven't read the books, the Thunderhead is like this big AI system that was kind of mysterious in the first book, but we're getting like a big,
he's what
much
the
bigger
cloud
glimpse.
becomes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. We're going to be doing an episode on that tomorrow, actually. That'll be out on, it'll be, if you're listening to this on Monday, it'll be out on Tuesday. So look forward to that.
So I've got some opinions on the Thunderheads talk, and I'm really glad that you and I talked about halfway through the book, because I was like really hating on the book in my mind because of those little excerpts from the Thunderhead. But then you kind of shined a light on the direction that you think that the author was trying to take and the points that he was trying to make that I really agreed with. And that like helped me read it a lot, because I was like, this is dumb. Like, I don't like the Thunderhead. And you were like, no, he's trying to make this point. And I was like, oh wow.
I know, I was like surprised.
He did a really good job making that point.
It was just too subtle. Yeah.
Like,
I know. I was surprised you called me, because you were just like, what the hell? This doesn't make any sense. And I was like, I don't think it's supposed to, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you did, because it helped me see, I think, from the right angle, though.
It could be wrong. Like, it could be
about halfway through the third one, and like, I think you're right. Still,
we'll talk about it in the episode.
We will.
Don't want to spoil too much. And then I finished The Trouble with Peace.
Nice.
I cranked that book out. Man.
Yeah, you did.
Whew, man. Joe Abercrombie is that's one of the best Joe Abercrombie books I've ever read. Like, that book was awesome. There was book 2 in the Age of Madness trilogy, and wow, like the characters just got even better. There was a magnificent, chaotic, total disaster of a battle scene at the end of that book. I don't know if you remember it, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's basically like it's like you're watching it, and I knew what was gonna happen. I knew who was gonna win just based on the context of like everything that had happened, and I knew for some reason that Abercrombie wasn't gonna try to subvert anything. And it's like,
who's fighting who?
I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like a kind of like rebellion kind of thing. I don't want to spoil it. Okay. But like I'll tell you after
I think I remember it. I think I remember it.
But it's like I knew what was going to happen. And
the Feared is in the book, the first series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a whole different thing. But
okay.
But yeah, like the battle scene, there was this chapter, and it was called The Little People. And it was this chapter, and it was like, it was just darting around to like a bunch of different people's points of view during this big giant mess of a battle. And it was just like, it was so gruesome, and it was so like pointless and just a total mess. Like it was just it was so
Just like a waste of
ridiculous.
human life.
Yeah, and just seeing
he
it
does
from
a
like,
really good job.
oh my
painting
god,
that
and
picture.
he's just drilling it into you like war is the dumbest possible thing we could possibly be doing, and you're just seeing it from like not one, not two, but like 12 different perspectives in one chapter, just jumping around to like random people you've never even seen at any point in the trilogy, and it gives like a whole backstory for them and like while they're fighting, and just man, he really
Abercrombie's battles are something else, man. And he gets into the
master.
strategy of it, of like who's got the high ground, and like this person's fighting in mud, and like it's the stuff that I really love in a battle. Those
I'm
details.
really, really happy with this trilogy, and I'm on Wisdom of Crowds right now, and I was kind of wondering if I was going to be able to finish this trilogy before we got into Faithful and the Fallen, because I didn't want to get my fantasy wires crossed. But
these ones will be overlaking. I feel like too,
I will definitely be finishing this before I'm going to finish this in like the next couple of days. Like I don't think I've read a 1,500 page trilogy this quickly. You
started it like a week and a half ago.
I started it like a little while, like 3 weeks ago.
Was it? Okay.
Maybe like a month ago. The first one took me a little while to read, just because I was reading so much else.
Fast. I thought it was like just a week or two that you were like, I started this.
I finished the second book in like 3 days.
Okay.
But the first book took me a while because like it was very good. It was just like a little boring because it was just kind of setting everything up. It was just like quite a bit of setup. Like the first like half of the book. Yeah. But yeah, I'm really into that. I finished a book called Cemetery Boys. I talked about it a little bit last week, and I just kind of started it, but I finished it, and wow, I loved it. I loved it so much. It was such a good ride. It was so delightful. It was
Is this
adorable.
an indie writer?
No, this is Aiden Thomas. Aiden Thomas also did the Sunbearer Trials. It's about this like transgender teenager whose family lives in a cemetery, and his family sort of helps spirits along to the afterlife after they've died. And Yadriel, the main character, wants to be what is called a brujo, but kind of one of these people that ushers these spirits along and everything. And there's like a whole ritual for it and everything. But his family's like really traditional, or his dad, at least, is the leader of these brujos, is pretty traditional. And typically only men can be brujos. So his dad is just kind of like, I don't know, you're transgender. I don't really know if you can do that. Like, you know, and so without spoiling too much, Yadriel kind of takes matters into his own hands, and the delightfully adorable chaos ensues. And I really liked it. It was awesome. I had never really thought before about how, like, if you're a transgender person and like if your culture kind of like holds to a certain kind of like gender binary with certain specific aspects of like traditions of that culture, like whether or not you'd be able to like participate in that. And I had just never really thought about that before, and like how big of a deal that would definitely be. And so it was just a lot of like Dia dos Muertos, like the Day of the Dead, like and like all the sugar skulls and everything, and just like have you seen that movie Coco?
No.
You haven't seen Coco? The Pixar movie? Oh, you should watch Coco. It's so good. Oh my god.
Oh, really? I've heard really good things. It's a musical, right?
I mean, there's music in it. Yeah. It's a Pixar movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's like one of my favorite Pixar movies, but it kind of reminded me of that a little bit, just like in the same kind of vein. But it is a brilliant book. I thought it was great. Really good execution, really tight plot. Yeah, I'd recommend it to everybody. And then the last thing I read this week was A Shocker on Shock Street, which was a Goosebumps book. It was all right.
Shocker on Shock Street.
It wasn't very shocking, and it was all right. I thought the idea was pretty cool. It was like these kids, this like
invent a Tesla coil and like
no, it's not even a little bit like that. It has one of the coolest covers. It's like a praying mantis on the cover.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty awesome, but like it's like the dad works as like a special effects designer for this series of movies called the Shock Street movies. And so they go to the set, these kids go to the set, go check it all out because they want like a tour of the set, you know, and it's like after hours and stuff. They get like their own special tour and everything, but everything's a little more serious than like what they bargained for. And like, it was cool. There were some pretty neat parts to it, but I thought it was a pretty decent idea, but just the execution.
Are people getting murdered like via electricity?
There's no... There's no electricity. It's so funny. I think shock in the sense that you're scared, not
okay. Like I'm shocked.
I feel you. Like I feel like
I feel like there should be like a Tesla fight or something.
I'm gonna do a whole review on it I haven't done a Goosebumps review for TikTok in a while, but I'll put one up for Shocker on Shock Street. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, Like I just kind of got to the end and I was like, all right, R.L. Stine, like we really, whoa.
Wow.
I
He was
am.
really struggling for
It
that
was
one.
fine. Yeah, it was fine.
Hey, when you write like 2 books a month,
For sure. Yeah.
I guess you can't really like say like this one wasn't good enough to join this. Like you just got to commit. Every series has got to be accepted, you know?
Yeah. Maybe I'll do like a whole 62 book ranking of
Oh my
Goosebumps. And I don't
gosh.
know where this would land, but kind of probably not. Not toward the top.
Not
But
towards the top. Okay.
and then also, so those are the books that I finished, and then I'm also reading a bunch of stuff too. So I'm reading a book by an author named Christopher Triana called "They All Died Screaming," which is it's about a plague called the Scream, and when you get infected, you scream nonstop until you die.
Oh my gosh.
It's really
That
brutal. It's
sounds
like
horrific.
it's splatterpunk. Like it's a whole genre of like it's like
Splatterpunk. Wow, that's a cool
yeah,
name.
that's a horror genre. It's a cool name, but like you got to have a pretty strong stomach for this genre.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's very brutal. I don't even know if I should really be bringing it up on the podcast because it's like pretty intense and pretty negative. But I do like horror a lot, and independent horror. If this is indeed what it is, I'm pretty sure it is. But indie horror is kind of like no holding back. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? It can
You
be
just don't
pretty.
give a.
It can be pretty intense, but I'm happy I'm reading it. I like reading some pretty intense stuff now and then. I talked about Wisdom of Crowds. Also reading Leviathan Falls. I'll be done with that really soon. We're gonna finish Leviathan Falls and The Toll this week, and we're
Yeah.
gonna be able to start Faithful and the Fallen and Red Rising next week, which
It's gonna
is
be a
so great.
fresh week for the podcast, which is nice. I feel like we need that.
And then I'm still reading All the Young Dudes, Vinland Saga. I don't know why I'm still reading Vinland Saga. I should have finished it like 2 weeks ago. I've got 3 left, and I go through them in like 45 minutes. I could literally knock them all out. I just love it, and
Just take your time.
I just don't want to be done with it. Then I won't be able to read Vinland Saga anymore, and I just like it being on my nightstand. And like I'm being
Totally.
dumb. Like I should just,
No, there's a comfort with that for sure.
yeah, I should just
I feel the
finish it
same
and
way
watch
every
the
time I
show.
reread Harry Potter.
Yeah, I should just finish it and watch the show, and then move on with my life. You know, I just
Yeah,
really like.
I think you're
Vinland
going to be
Saga.
disappointed in the show. Like it's good, but I only got through like the half of the second season, and then I was like, okay, like I don't know.
I like the
got
animation
kind
a
of bored
lot.
with it.
It looks really good.
It does look really good, though. You might like know where it's going, and thus like have a little bit more like call to finish it. Though, like I really liked the first season; it was great, and the second one was just like I don't know. I just kind of got bored with it.
I think Vinland Saga, for anybody that's listening and you've never read it before, there's definitely some like really kind of like vibey pockets of that series, and I really appreciate them a lot. It's not a series that's setting out to be super violent, which is really cool because it's about violent people. You know, like and I don't know if the show deviates from that very much, but
Show's pretty violent.
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's violent parts, and so don't get me wrong. Vinland Saga is not like super wholesome all the time, but there are some really wholesome parts. You know, like the main character is great. The arc with the main character is really fantastic. There's a lot in there. I feel like me and Makoto Yukimura, who's the mangaka that wrote Vinland Saga, I feel like we would get along really well. Like I want to like get beers and like sake and sushi with him.
You can just tell, like,
sit
the way
down.
he writes the story, you guys would enjoy each
He's
other.
got all these like little snippets of like his personal life. I think I mentioned it before, but he like talk about his kids, and he's just like, I really hope that I don't screw them up or anything because they seem cool now, but they might not be cool later, and that would all be all my fault. And like he's talking about like trying to quit smoking, and he's just like, I don't know, like I kind of want to, and then I stop, and then I really want to smoke again, and like I'm just like he just seems like a very like down to earth person.
I feel that pain.
That like found something that they were really interested in, which was 12th century Vikings and like Anglo-Saxons and stuff like that, and was just like, I want to write about this really, really bad. And then he definitely did it. Like he definitely went hard with it and did a bunch of art, and I like the art a lot. I've also got Berserk Deluxe Volume 13 over here, which just came out.
Ooh,
which
nice.
It's about to wrap up Berserk. I think there's like 2 chapters after where I'm at, but I'll be reading that here pretty soon.
Oh, and that's going to be the final one.
I think there's like a couple more, not deluxe volumes, but I think there's a couple more chapters, and then that's the end. But there'll be
Wow.
Well, I'll keep everybody informed on what's going on with Berserk. I'm trying to keep my ear to the ground. It seems like Studio Gaga is doing more stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, that's about it for me on the reading front. Jeez, I'm reading so much stuff right now.
That's a lot.
I did watch the Guy Pearce Time Machine movie from 2002, I think.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay, so I've been really into period piece movies from like the late 90s and early 2000s lately, I guess. And that movie was not as good as I remembered it being. It was all right.
I remember it being pretty good.
It was okay. Like, it started kind of strong, you know? I forgot about the whole Morlock thing, like the last like third of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And like Jeremy Irons at the end with like the really long blonde hair, and it's just kind of like weird, and like they have like this weird conversation that like mostly makes sense, but it like kind of doesn't. And then and then they kind of just like wrap up the part with his friend that was like living back in New York in the 1800s or whatever.
Right,
and it's just like ta-da, like, you know, I'm not trying to spoil it, but I don't know if you really want to watch it, listeners. I don't know if you it's okay, like it's cool. I mean, there's something so endearing about like that specific period of period piece movies, you know, like late 90s, early 2000s, and some of them are bangers. I mean, you got like Gladiator. Like way over here you got Gladiator, and it's incredible. And then like right in the middle is like The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, which is like pretty stupid. Like it's like but
it's also like pretty cool.
It's cool, but it's like very like,
just don't think about it. You can't
don't think about it. No,
you just have
really,
to watch it.
It is very much like Tom Cruise comes in and does what thousands of years of culture couldn't do. You know what I mean? It's just like,
totally.
Why would these samurai not be able to
you can't think about it.
Like, oh, if only we had Tom Cruise, you know, like that's
Japan,
so
feudal
dumb.
Japan had Tom Cruise.
Yeah, it would be so great. Oh man. But it's like kind of a cool movie. But then
it's
like
fun.
But then like all the way on the other side of the spectrum, you got movies like The Time Machine, like Van Helsing with but if anybody has any suggestions for further early 2000s period piece stuff, hit me up, because I know there's some really good ones out there. There might have been some stuff I haven't seen. Oh, Troy is
very good.
Pretty cool. Like, works. It's a solid movie, you know?
It's right about the time the technology could afford like huge battles too.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
You know, where like huge battles were awesome, and Troy does some pretty cool battles.
Yeah, I mean that part where Achilles is standing outside the gates of Troy screaming Hector's name. Whew.
After dragging Oh no. This is before that.
It's before he drags Hector's body, but
that's so good.
It's after Patroclus gets killed.
Yeah.
Right? So
and
wearing Achilles
Helen of
armor.
Troy is stunningly beautiful, if I recall.
Yeah, that whole movie really works. Like,
yeah, it really works.
I mean, yeah, Brad Pitt is stunningly beautiful too, and
he's so good looking in that movie, dude.
Oh my god! Like, when I was growing my hair out, I was trying to do like an Eric Bana thing with my hair, and it seriously was not working. Like, I but like whatever he did with his hair in that particular movie, I was like, I want to look like that. I'm in my 30s right now. I want to look like that, and then I don't have the bone structure that Eric Bana does. I forgot about that. I'm like, I'll just look exactly like Eric Bana if I just grow my hair to look just like his, right? No, actually, that doesn't work for everybody listening. Unless you do have
that movie
Eric
begins
Bana.
so cool too.
It's excellent. I kind of want to rewatch it.
Me too, man. You got me all hyped up on Troy.
But that's it for me. Yeah, that's everything I did this week. I mean, I did some other stuff, but there's a lot of reading, kind of catching up on stuff, and we're about to wrap up. Like Chad said, we're about to wrap up some series and really get a whole new fresh couple of series up in here. I'm really excited about it.
It's going to be a whole new world up in this podcast, and I'm here for it, man. I'm really, really excited. It's going to be fun. I as much as I love the Expanses, as much as I kind of it's time to move on. I put my slow-mobile pants on this last week just because I was like, I'm kind of sad, but like I'm actually really not. I really want to finish it and move on to some of the new stuff we have coming, because I'm really excited for it. Though I will, it's always with a bit of sadness, nostalgia, that I say, fare thee well to the series that we've been working on for a while.
It's all right. We'll do more. They had their time in the sun.
They did.
A long time in the sun. We were supposed to be finished with The Expanse in I think the first week of May, or 6 weeks
we're a little
behind.
late on that. Yeah,
we're not doing too bad.
Yeah,
though.
well, that's a huge.
Yeah, we'll be able to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's a huge series.
And I was getting a little fatigued with it.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, there's a few weeks I was just like, I'm just not going to read you.
Yeah, and The Expanse. For anybody that's listening and hasn't read it and is kind of curious about it, it really is an incredible series.
It's so good.
I think there are parts of it, not really. I should rephrase that. There were just times where I've been kind of down, or I've just been kind of tired, and just thinking about reading it, it's just oh my god, it's just
right.
So it's just it's so much going on, and it's just you really have to pay attention to what's happening.
You need to be
chapter.
in that story.
Yeah, you really got to focus on it. I mean, it's not overly difficult or complicated or anything, but it's just like if you miss a few paragraphs because you were just kind of like not really paying attention to stuff, it's not like
That
like
yeah,
you
that's
really need
fine.
to like go back and read it.
There's
Yeah,
a few chapters that like you can't miss.
yeah, absolutely.
So it's
No.
like you kind of have to selectively be like out of it if you are going to be out of it for any of it, because there are some of it that like no, you really need to learn that part.
Yeah, some of the conversations do feel a little bit samey after a while. It's just like, hey, are
Yeah.
you doing okay? And the other person's like, yeah, I'm doing fine. And it's like, cool,
Yeah.
just making sure you're doing okay. And like that can be like a 6-page long conversation
Yeah.
sometimes. That's the only thing. That's like my only real gripe. Honestly, with the whole Expanse series, I mean, I'd say the only thing that I've noticed is that the dialogue just feels a little bit like formulaic after a while almost.
Yeah.
Like it's like they have like a template for how they want conversations to go.
Yeah, it's like this person
Like,
has to talk to this person about that event, and then this person has to talk to that person about how the other person feels about that event, and then they're like all okay, and then
yeah,
another event
and then
happens,
someone talks to somebody else about how that other person felt about how that other person felt about
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
and it's just like, man, we're like 6 degrees
Oof.
removed from like the actual thing that just happened.
Yeah.
You know, but it's really rare. Not rare. It's just those moments. Like there's like one of them in every book, I feel like, but there's a bunch of other really awesome stuff happening
Yes.
all the time. Like don't let me being a little bit cynical for funzy onesies like get you not reading it, because it is. I'm very happy that we read these books.
Me too.
In the
Me
way
too.
that we read them, you know.
Yeah, straight up.
But it's time to read some good old fashioned high fantasy, baby.
Oh, baby, bring me that high fantasy.
It's time. It's about damn time.
Dude, I'm gonna nom just eat it on up. Shall we fun fact?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Cormac McCarthy used an Olivetti Litera 32 to write nearly all of his fiction, that is a typewriter, screenplays, and correspondence over a 50-year period from 1960 to 2009. In 2009, the typewriter was auctioned by Christie's to benefit the Santa Fe Institute for $254,500.
Wow.
Right?
One typewriter for 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if it's the typewriter that's been sold the most, which would be a good fun fact too, but it's definitely up there. That's for sure.
One. I mean, that seems like a thing Cormac McCarthy would do. Like, I'm just
Totally.
gonna write it. This one's worked the whole time. I'm not getting a new one. I've never written like. I mean, I've used a typewriter before, but like I've never sat down and written anything with a typewriter, so I can't speak to its benefits. I'm
Well,
sure
first your fingers are going to be a lot stronger.
maybe, but
Those keys are hard.
yeah, they're interesting for sure. But
You have
I mean,
to really like be like very deliberate with the typewriter.
I will never go back from being able to copy paste, from
Yeah.
being able to control Z.
We're such sloppy writers with keyboards. It affords us to be so lazy because, like, imagine if you had to start at the top of a page every time you made an error.
Well, I mean, imagine if you had to like use whiteout and like replace pages.
Ugh.
I mean, I'm sure you could make the argument. I'm sure that maybe using a typewriter makes you focus more or something like that. But like,
Maybe
I'll trade it away. I'd rather
like, focus on
like,
typing more, but not on like the story that you're writing.
maybe it makes you focus more on being careful with your words. I don't know because I've never
Yeah, I
done
don't
it.
know.
So maybe if you're a person that writes analog like that, hit us up. I'm kind of curious as to
Me too.
why are you doing that when
Right.
I mean, it really is kind of like using a rotary phone when iPhones exist, and it's
Totally.
it's like I get it having that, but like the benefits of having a smartphone are like a lot.
Yeah.
Like, they kind of far outweigh the benefits.
Totally. And having like a spell checker or something that tells me where to put commas, like those little squiggly red lines, as much as they may annoy some of us, are very helpful.
Well, I mean, there is a theory that like our dependence on this sort of technology is making it so that if we didn't have it, we would be kind of like dumber, I guess. But I don't
Sure.
know if you could. I wonder if there's been studies done on that. I'd be curious to see what the literature is on that.
Right. Because you could say it might make us smarter because we now know every time that it shows us as in live format, like, hey, you did something wrong. There's some squiggly red lines. You right click on it and be like, oh, a comma should be there, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I don't know like what the concrete evidence is of any of that. You know, it's like,
Right.
well, now we don't know. Now we rely on Google Maps and none of us know how to read a map. And it's like, well, yeah, but like if every map service is down, I think we got more to worry about than like
Totally.
being able to,
Totally.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like where my brain goes. It's like,
Yeah,
I
like
don't know.
if-
Do I even want to like be using a map if
Google
like that's what
Maps
we've been
dies, our
doing?
first
Yeah.
thought is going to be like, well, people are going to have some trouble reading those paper maps. Like, no.
There's something else is
We have
happening.
some major-
Yeah. Like,
Why isn't Google working?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like there's some kind of shift happened. We
Yeah, Silicon Valley got nuked.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe I do need a map, but like a map of the wasteland. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Straight
but
up.
I do understand for sure that there's a certain probably kind of like isolation, I suppose, with a typewriter, where if you don't have like, any electronics with you, and it's just kind of like your brain.
Right. Like no other
typewriter.
notifications are popping up or
Yeah,
anything.
I can see that.
can see
for sure.
that.
And obviously,
But
I'm
you
not.
could also just go like, my computer has an airplane mode.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
No,
you know?
it's not.
Like, but so that's like my kind of attitude towards it. Like now, but Cormac McCarthy started with a typewriter because he didn't have a computer, so it makes sense.
He got used to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it makes sense that he would keep doing it, but
it's nuts that he never upgraded, though, right? Like, I'm sure typewriter technology came a long way, so you don't have to hit the key so hard and stuff. But he just like kept the same one for 50 years. It just worked, I guess. I wonder if his like editor was super pissed off, like, again, Cormac.
I guess Stephen King upgraded quite often.
Did he always go on a typewriter?
I mean, he had a typewriter for a long time, but then like word processors came out.
Okay.
You know what I mean, and like I guess he was frequently upgrading. I guess a lot of authors use Microsoft Word, which is really nice because that's what I use. And I always felt a little silly like writing books in Microsoft Word, but I like it.
What other thing is there?
I mean, there's
Google
like
Docs.
There's Google Docs. I think a lot of people use Google Docs.
I write a lot in Google Docs.
But I like Microsoft Word. I don't know what it is. I just really enjoy it. I don't know what it is. Google Docs, I don't like how when you type, it takes like just like a fraction of a second longer for the letter to show up in Google Docs. Have you noticed that?
No.
It's like weird. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen sometimes. And it's just like this tiny.
So fast. I'm like trying it out right now, and
Okay, well, I've just noticed it sometimes happens. I'm not saying it always happens, but with Google Docs, I've noticed every now and then there's like a little delay, and I don't like it. And I also just don't trust. I just don't trust it. It's just like up there in the cloud. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Microsoft, it's like saved. I'm sure you can save Google Docs locally. I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, Microsoft Word is pretty cool. And there's like Scrivener, which is like a novel writing software, which I haven't really messed with, but it'll let you sort everything into chapters.
Oh, okay.
And so I've heard that that's like very useful, especially for like outlining and kind of getting everything sorted out. So you kind of have like a bird's eye view of what everything looks like. Because for me, with like my book, it's just like, it's just a bunch of pages and a bunch of words, like it's
totally. You kind of have to do the organizing yourself.
I mean, you can do it in Microsoft Word, but it's like a little bit more involved of a process. And
it's
like
AutoCut too, which is a cool tool. It's just a cool tool that I discovered online a couple weeks ago. And the cool thing about it is you can like run reports that'll be like, show me all the times that I'm telling and not showing, and it'll like analyze your words, use this on like AI, or like bring up like you can run like reports to be like, whoa, words am I overusing? It'll be like, you used extra 14 times in the last 6 pages. You should only have 3. Remove 8. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of want to run my stuff through there and see
it's really
if
cool.
I'm like using passive voice or anything like that. Because
you should. Yeah, it has all those reports.
Huh? What's it called again?
AutoCut.
Oh, all right. I'll check that out.
I linked it in the solo episode that I did a couple weeks ago because I discovered it. And I was like, this is really cool.
I'm going to look it over. Right
I'll send you the link when we're done here.
Thank you so much for listening to the Monday episode. We love doing this episode, and we love that you're always here listening with us on your Monday mornings.
Thank you so much for joining us, as always, for this Monday. We have an awesome Discord community if you want to hop in and find some more book folk, kindred souls. And please go check out our Patreon if you've a mind. It helps Evan and I quite a bit.
Everybody, I'm going to take off. I'm going to go do some more reading because Chad and I have some really cool books ahead of us, and we hope that you join us for all those episodes. If not, join us for the Monday episode and the Friday episode, as always. Hope you all have an excellent rest of your day. And of course, happy reading.
Bye, everybody.